Introducing Travel Well podcast series presented by packitup.org.
This is the Travel Well podcast series where we explore and share the stories of perseverance, resilience, and overcoming the challenges of living abroad. I'm your host, Christian Brown, global citizen, writer, and entrepreneur. Let's get into it. You are tuned in to the Travel Well podcast. I'm your host, Christian Brown, and I'm excited for this episode. The Travel Well podcast, we try to sit at the intersection of travel and wellness, and we do that by exploring the stories of brave souls who have chosen to move away from their home country to explore a life abroad. And so I'm excited for you all to hear a story of my friend Lauren. Lauren, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So let's get right into it. First, how long have you been living abroad, and then what prompted you to move abroad?
So I guess it starts like pretty early on. I went abroad for the first time when I was 15. And so I'm from the U.S. originally. You could probably hear from my accent. And I went to visit Italy. And I don't know, I arrived and I just felt that this was where I wanted to be, like definitely on the Europe side. And yeah, I just like really appreciated this like new approach to culture, this new kind of cuisine. Also coming from the US, everything seems so old and like historic, and I work kind of more in a creative field, so I could really align with like those aspects and appreciate that from the European side. So I think that's when I began to get interested about living abroad. And around like the similar time, I decided I want to work in fashion. And so I kind of did research of like, okay, what does it mean to be a fashion designer? Where do I have to work, to kind of really reach like the pinnacle of this industry? And so I grew up half in California and then half in Minnesota. And Minnesota isn't really known for fashion. So I think like the main question I got was like, do you want to be on Project Runway? If you know this show, but I'm like, well, yeah, no. We want to go up a little bit more refined. So yeah, I kind of just looked for where were the opportunities. So that left me in fashion with kind of these top fashion cities as my goal. So that would be New York, London, or Milan, or Paris. And so with that in mind, I just kind of moved forward and tried to get into schools next of like where I could get accepted. And so I've actually lived in quite a few places on that journey. Okay. But I can keep going, or if you want to.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So Paris wasn't the first city you've traveled a bit. I like how kind of your passion and your desire career-wise kind of drove where you wanted to live. I think it sounds like you had a global mindset in that aspect, not just thinking about where in the U.S. can I go to thrive in my career, but where in the world can I grow and can I go and grow.
Go
grow. And thrive in your career. So I think that's really cool, and I think that's encouraging too to people, because I try to be a advocate for like the global mindset, thinking globally when you think about your career and your personal life. So that's super cool. So what are some fears that you faced along your journey, especially when it came to you moving abroad? What kind of fear did you have, and how did you overcome it?
The fears. I gotta think of it. But I like what you said about the global mindset, because like it's like what, like goldfish? Like we're only limited by our container, and like there's some things like I found out kind of like in the past year that if I would have known, I think it would have really limited my beliefs about where I could go. And so I was lucky to be in a situation where like my parents had taken me to this like trip abroad. And so like that ability that I could go like was fostered by that. And so I mean, even if like your parents don't like bring you somewhere, like we at least have like films or different things that can open our eyes to having that more global mindset, which I think is super important. Fears. I'm kind of a risk taker. Okay. So I think my biggest fear was just that I wasn't going to make it. Like I wasn't going to get there. Like, so I was also kind of running away from something, like not really in too negative of a sense, but so I moved from California to Minnesota. It really like wasn't my place, like
Minnesota.
Right. Yeah. It was cold and like the people, I don't know, like I think it was like also this kind of I had this extreme focus on fashion design, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. But I kind of like didn't feel a connection with others. Like I was very career minded, and everything else was very family orientated. And so I was kind of always looking for myself, and I didn't see it anywhere I was. So I think that was like quite discouraging. And so for me, I was like, all right, I got to get out, and like I got to find my people. I have to find like people who align with my goals, my mission. And so then when I did starting to go to cities, I found like more of that there. So I think it was more the fear that I wasn't ever going to get there versus like the fear of being there. So, yeah.
You overcame it just by doing, right?
Yeah,
just by doing
and
it
like
and ending up where you were.
Yeah, if you don't even think there's another option, then you go.
Yeah.
But I think it was like that's how badly I wanted to leave.
Oh, I love that.
So
Yeah, super cool. And I believe I have this belief that living abroad, it fast tracks your journey of self-discovery, you know, and personal growth, right? Being a stranger in a strange land, you have to learn and adapt a lot quicker than if you're just, you know, in somewhere where you feel comfortable, right? So can you talk about a moment of significant growth that you experienced because of moving abroad?
I'll see if I can think of like a specific moment. But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like it also, I think, opens your horizons and opinions. Like I don't know if it's a specific example, but I just used to be very particular about like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, I like this kind of food, I don't like this kind of food. And then like as you're forced to consistently go against like with things that like you might not like, you learn to be adaptable, you learn to be flexible. And it's something I especially notice when I go back to the US, and my family, they're like, oh, we won't do that, we won't do this. It's like, honestly, about like the amount of different kinds of cultures I've met at this point, the places I've been, like the strange situations I've been in, like there is almost no right or wrong. Like it's all gray. Like I see very neutral when I used to be very like opinionated, and I think like that's a sign of maturity in my opinion.
For sure. It's funny you say that. There's this lesson that I teach in my Pack It Up University program. It's called Ooh Not Ill, right? And the
Ooh Not Ill.
Ooh Not Ill. And the story behind it is like, well, when I was in university, I took an international marketing class, and the first day of class, my professor was like, "This is what you're gonna do. Whenever you think about saying ill to something, say ooh."
Ew.
Right, because we have to have this curiosity when it comes to learning about different cultures, right? Because there will probably be things that we haven't seen before, and it could look weird, could look nasty, right? But just going into things with a mindset of curiosity allows you to just think deeper, and then also wonder more, like okay, well, I wonder why they like this or why they do this, right? Because there's always stories behind everything.
Yeah, history. You know? That informs the reality.
It's just I think that would be cool. Like if Americans just had a more curious approach to life, you know. Yeah,
like I mean, to be honest, like because I have like lived a lot of different places. Like I lived in New York was the first time, and then I lived in London twice, and then I've been in Paris now 7 years. So I think I've been out of the U.S. like the same amount of time as that I've been there. But like I don't have mostly my family, like who I connect with back in the US now, and maybe it's because it's such a big country that there's less of like a need maybe to go out, or like how there's so much of pop culture that comes from the US. But I definitely see a difference of like people who have traveled versus like people who haven't, and I guess like the lack of curiosity as well. Yeah, that's cool. So one of the issues that people face, two main issues that I want to talk about. The first one, people have a huge worry about finances when it comes to moving abroad. So like, how did you prepare financially for your move abroad? And then what kind of pressures did you face? A lot of like close calls.
Yes.
But I think that's one thing. It's like kind of accepting it's probably not going to happen on your timeline. So that was especially frustrating for me, since like I wanted to leave so bad. Like I wanted to go to fashion, I wanted to live in a top city. I like didn't want to waste any more time. I knew really what I wanted, and so then I didn't understand like why it was taking so long. And so what had happened, so the first time I went to London, it was for a study abroad, And then I had gone back to try to get a job on this like short-term visa, and like for 6 months I think I applied for maybe like 300 jobs and like nothing, like didn't get anything. I like wasn't even getting paid like as like an intern, because in fashion it's insane, like there's a lot of like mistreatment happening in the industry, like in order to get like finally a spot in the studio. But I think, yeah, realizing that it's okay to also like take your goal but then pace it. Like I mentioned, I'm like quite prone to risk, so like I would normally just take the risk even if I didn't have the finances, which then put me in like difficult situations when then like, right, nothing like I was on the street or anything, but yeah, like not having much savings just because I spent my money trying to get to places and like have more work experiences versus like saving for the future. So I think that's something I sacrificed. It was like savings.
It's like you put your savings into your
exactly right.
That was your savings.
Yes, my present is currently my savings. Yeah. So yeah, and I think the length it took. Like I thought I was gonna be very quickly in a city, and it took 15 years like to really get here, and like climb the ladder.
So that's a good lesson. So be prepared for things not to go on your timeline, but you have to stay resilient.
Yeah, and also like maybe it doesn't happen this way, but it might happen a different way. Like I thought I was gonna live in London. Like I never wanted to live in France, to be honest, even with Paris as like a fashion city. Because I had visited here and I was robbed on the last day. Yeah. Like, I'm never gonna move here. And so, but then like I got into this school that like I wasn't planning on going to. I wanted this other one, and I like got more into it, and I'm like, this is what I want, but this is what's actually right for me. And so then when I decided to take the choice that was right for me, that's when things like more naturally fell into place with less stress. And so yeah, I think sometimes what you want isn't what's right for you. So
well, I love that. That's so good. So going back a bit with talking about just not really having the security of the savings, and I see it as you're investing in yourself by exploring life abroad. I'm curious to get your opinion on just that, right? It's like what is the value of investing in a like a global life? Global, I'll say, what's the value of investing in global citizenship? Ooh,
trademark. Yeah, I guess there's two sides, right? You have like the personal development, and then the professional. Mine was always professional until I was forced to deal with personal. I think just basically like how society kind of teaches, and especially in the US, it's very like performance driven, and so that's I think where that came from. Right. But what was the question again?
The question was, what's the value of investing in global citizenship? So so personal side, I would say like we said, like become a lot more flexible, dynamic, adaptable, which like is actually quite necessary, because we think we could control life, but actually we don't. And so if you have the ability to kind of navigate that, it's a lot, I think, easier and more pleasant to live that way. And then from like the career side, I definitely now have like a crazy amount of experience that now I can take and refine and kind of see where my like expertise and specialty like really lies. And now I kind of have that moment to digest it and approach the problems with that information. Love that. Let's break. No, you can stop it. Hey, so check this out. I want to take a few seconds to tell you about Blemish. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of a startup called Blemish, based in France, and it's the whole reason I really moved to Paris. And our goal is to unlock access to mental health and care resources globally. So when we do that is through community. We throw events all around the world, and we have a community of people who are committed to bettering their mental health. And as a part of that, we created these bracelets, these Blemish stacking bracelets. And each one has a different positive quote on it. And it's just a reminder, a daily reminder for you to stay positive, for you to know that you're one connection away, for you to be aware of the growth that you've experienced, to know that you can execute with excellence, to know that you never lose, you either win or you learn. And so these bracelets are a great daily reminder, and they just look good, right? You can stack them, wear them with other bracelets, but the ultimate goal is to give you that daily reminder to keep going, stay positive, and do the work. And so if you go to blemish.com/store right now, you'll be able to see the bracelets, read about them, see some pictures of people wearing them, and you'll be able to get one for you or for a loved one. So go to blemish.com, that's BLIMISH.com/store. You can find all the information that you need. All right, back to the episode.
That's so good.
Yeah, so that's cool. So the first, so I said two major issues that people have. The first is the financial worry, but then the second is like loneliness / worrying about community and network. So how have you grown your network living abroad? Yeah, let's start there.
And I think especially for Americans going to foreign countries, it's quite challenging to get a like work placement, for example, unless you have a lot of experience or that company is already like registered in many countries and you get transferred. So the main way I could find to come was through school. And so I've been to a lot of schools basically just to get to places, but in addition to learning. But that's how I got back to London, and that's how I got to Paris and was like able to stay long term in Paris because of my master's here. So when you're in these kind of environments with other people who are also just arriving, it's a lot easier to meet friends. And to be honest, like most of my friends are foreigners because like we share, right, like similar pains and needs and, right, still like language barriers. So that helps a lot to be like in situations like how you're even like speaking about this, like this podcast of like others who want to move abroad, how to kind of find groups and pockets that align with like your needs or your values or kind of your goals. So I'd say like through programs like that has really like helped to find people in similar situations. And then I guess like with COVID was the first time where, right, we were all like trapped. And so then we really didn't see anyone. And so I was here, and so all my family is in the US. And so I was lucky to like be with some roommates, so I wasn't totally alone. But that's when I started to kind of switch between being always like physical to now digital. And so now my community is almost fully digital. And so it's really switched like how many events I went to physically before is now like a bit more reversed of like finding those communities online and then making my in real life more intentional and selective.
Nice. I like that. In real life versus online. So how's that been for you, just having online like relationships? Do you feel like there's a lack of connection online? And then I'm also curious about how that relates to maintaining connections back home, right? Because I'm sure that has to be online too. You have to maintain connections back home. Not everyone can travel thousands of miles away, frequently. So yeah, how do you?
Yeah, and I think for so long, what made me not be lonely is like how focused I was on my work, and so I think that just distracted me from being lonely.
Interesting.
So I think if others aren't as like work intense, then they might maybe feel a bit more lonely. But yeah, because for me it had been after COVID like 4 to 5 years since I saw my family. Like so I didn't see them for like this very long period of time. Whether it was due to like visa processing reasons or COVID. And so then what we would do is like just have calls, and something fun we would do is like this virtual family cook-off. So I'm not like very good at cooking. Like they're way better. And so we would just have like every Sunday like cook-offs like virtually. So I think like if you can think of fun things like this that like can be regular and like and kind of put into your schedule versus just like randomly calling people, it will help to continue those relationships. Because now I would say I don't know, maybe 60-70% of my friends are like online.
Yeah.
Like my best friend she lives in Peru, and I've
Wow.
probably met her 5 times physically. Like, it's strange. So I have like this yeah, I think I'm still able to get a similar connection, but like physical, yeah, you can't, I think, beat it. So so now I actually do like spend half my time in the US, and so that was like after being away for so long and kind of going back after so many years and seeing like your family age, and you're like, wow, like I am like missing something like here. So it's like I put in a ton of work like with the career for pursuing my individuality, which like so many people don't get to do. And I did that, and so I feel good about that. But now like I want to go back and kind of spend half time kind of like thanking for them for the help they did give me, and learning from them and sharing what I know, even though it's all about fashion.
But like what are the advantages of that? Because I believe when you go on this journey of moving abroad, initially it feels like it's for you because it's something that you want to do, but in the long term it's not just for you, it's for your community as well, your family, for those around you, right? Because they are able to learn from you, they're able to live vicariously through you. And their mind is expanded just because they're able to say, hey, my family member is living in wherever, right? So yeah, what are some of the advantages of that for you, like choosing your individual desires, you know, like what? Yeah, I
think it did feel selfish at first, and I felt kind of bad about that since like no one else did that. But then I'm like, why isn't everyone doing it? And it's kind of like this thing of like, if you're not happy with your life and yourself, then like you're probably gonna make everyone else's life miserable. So I would say this is actually where to start. And so I just did it like really intensely. And so when I go back now, there's a lot of like things that I've learned. I don't know if I have like a specific example. Like if it's surface level, something like different cooking or dishes or language. My family doesn't speak any languages other than English, so I'm like this unicorn that comes home that speaks a different language. I'm a good excuse for a vacation, like we always say. But I think, like what you said about like the awareness, like I think I have an awareness of living and adapting to so many different lifestyles that I am very accepting of like almost everything, like within reason. But and I think they didn't have that, but when they see me like that, they start to really challenge the norms of what they're surrounded with. Like
so good.
Maybe an example is like some more like spirituality kind of perspective, like meditation, or just like learning more about like things within that space. Like before, my family was very closed off to it, and then I just started talking about it, and like I'm not as afraid, I think, like to talk about things like this as I would have been if I stayed in this like same society of where I grew up in. And so
I love that. I think there's so much there, and that speaks to the personal growth and the self-discovery that happens as a global citizen. And it's not so much, when I say self-discovery, people may think just discovering yourself, but I think a part of self-discovery is also discovering other humans and just discovering the human experience as a whole, right? Because it's like we are all one as humans, and so our self-discovery journey involves learning the ways of other people as well. So I think that's really cool. And on a different note, what are some misconceptions that you had about living in Europe, you know, that kind of proved not to be true once you got here?
I thought I arrived like just expecting all French people to hate me because I'm an American, which is like kind of I mean, not totally wrong. I mean, I think some stereotypes are true, like, and I like to joke about them because they exist for sometimes a reason. But I think whenever you're actually in the situation, everything becomes normalized. So something that maybe feels very scary, then if you just do it, and like it's probably scary while you're doing it, but then you do it after, like you realize like, oh, like I'm already here and this is already my new normal. So I think just like getting acclimated to like a language, like a different language. Like I didn't speak any French when I came here. I like could only say wine, like vin. So that was sometimes useful, but like not all the time. So yeah, I guess some stereotypes are true. But yeah, the best bet is just to like be yourself, I guess. Go for where you think you want to go. What is like the next thing you want to try? And then don't worry, because like you'll get used to anything eventually, and if it doesn't work out, you can always do something different.
Yeah, 100%. So would you say that was one of the misconceptions? Like, did you believe that you had to be a French speaker or know like more French than you did before moving here?
Yeah, for sure. And like I definitely changed myself like when I arrived, because I went to this school and I was the only American, and so I started to speak. I'm speaking very fast. I'm speaking like English like this, and then I'm speaking very loud and I'm projecting. And like within like the first hour, like someone comes up to me. They're like, "Lauren, we don't know anything you're saying, and you speak too loud."
Wow,
so
too
like
fast and too loud.
Directly as soon as I arrive, like I'm told I'm wrong, and so like I immediately tried to adjust myself. So I think this is like kind of the difficult thing, is like I stopped being myself because I wanted to fit in so bad, and I had finally arrived like to the point where I thought this was like the ultimate phase of my career. So I was like, okay, I can't like mess it up. Like I have to be exactly what like I'm supposed to be in this situation. Especially like working in luxury, it's very competitive. So I would be more like soft and like more reserved and like but I'm not normally like this. I'm like quite loud and expressive and like kind of crazy, like but so yeah, I tried this approach for a while, and then kind of just come back to myself when I realized, okay, like that worked like within the settings, but like I'm ready now to be this hybrid of like who I really am.
Hybrid, yeah. I was about to say, because I'm sure there are still some pieces of that you have you know, kind of ingrained into like who you are now. So I think that's cool. Because for me, one thing that I've kind of had a similar experience. I had to learn how to talk slower.
Yeah, right? But I understand you very well now.
Right, but now
as an English speaker.
Yeah, right. But I can appreciate it now because honestly, it forces me to just articulate my words better. Yeah, which is
also
good
even
overall.
Think as well as what you're going to say.
That's true.
And
say
something good.
Yeah, so it's So I think that's a positive. What's something that you feel like you discovered about yourself living abroad that you wouldn't have discovered if you had stayed in the U.S.?
Oh my god, I can't even imagine like what would have happened if I stayed. Like I don't know. I don't think I would be very happy. But yeah, it's just quite incredible like how much you can change, but then at the same time you're the same. Like wow. I think, yeah, I tried everything. Like, I tried all kinds of formats of me. I tried out all these different identities. Just like I try on this crazy hat. Yeah, like, and if you can't see the video, she's wearing a crazy hat. And what is the hat for those who are watching? Yeah, so the hat. So I'm a fashion designer, and so something that like I am trying to push forward is like how do we make fashion more sustainable and more socially inclusive. So then this hat is basically covered with upcycled labels. So how do we take waste and kind of reformat it into new things, and then also digitize to reduce waste. So that's the story of the crazy hat. And also you can find me in a crowd. For sure. If you lose me. For sure. No, I love it. Sorry, kind of. I know. Now I lost. Sidetracked. You were talking about how you try so many different versions of yourself. Right. Yeah. So there's this thing that I do with like my clients as well, like whether it's someone wanting to start a fashion label or like design a collection, like you have to know what like their identity is first, like especially if it's a new brand. So I do this thing called gold threads, and it's basically like kind of going back and thinking about what are like the top 15, 20 memories that are the most significant in your life. And then like you kind of start to find patterns, and then like the ultimate result is like this kind of visual identity, as well as like what is your why, like why, what motivates like your action. And so I recently did this, and it was interesting to see that like my origins had really formed my why of like how do we bring inclusivity to creators, just because like I had such a hard time. And then how each of these experiences also like gave me more layers So it's like my core identity, I realize, like has never changed, and I'm more myself now. But then like these experiences at each place I've lived have added like little details to kind of enrich my identity, I suppose.
Yeah, wow, what a great answer.
Thanks.
that was incredible. And on that note, like how do you see your experiences abroad? Sorry, I'm having to look because I want to make sure I say this the right way.
Okay.
How do you see your experiences living abroad influencing your future plans?
Oh, I think I realized that you can't really plan the future as like much as you think you can. So now I'm in this weird spot of like trying to plan and it failing, and then now being like a lot more fluid. And I think because I've lived in all these places, I've had the ability to let go a bit of like control. So, and also learning that like when you do let go of control, you get like what I said before, what you actually need versus what you think you want you need. So, yeah, I think this place is like a lot more fulfilling. So yeah, like for the first 30 years, I'm 31, so the first years of my life was all about experimentation. Like I tried everything, I broke everything, I like put it together, I like glued it back, and then so I think I've had enough experience, like even at 31, like where I'm now ready to kind of step back and absorb it and then extract like, okay, where are the lessons that now I can take? Like all this is experience across like these 3 cities. I think I've worked at 50 companies, like a crazy amount. How can I take that and then turn it into value that aligns with like my direction, my vision, my manifesto, and then give that to the people who I think I can like empower the most. So for me, that's within like the fashion industry.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think now I'm at a point, maybe I'm just getting older, where I'm like, I would love to be in a forest, like maybe a bit less in the city. And so I think I'll be between like probably US and France or Europe to kind of keep growing, like rekindling the relationship with my family. And I'm in a lot more place of like, I've had the experiences, I kind of know how they go now. So now how do I take something and like provide value for people in the future?
Yeah, love that. Awesome. So now we're going to go into a segment where we do rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Couple of rapid fire questions for you. First one, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite local dish?
Oh my god, I'm not very rapid. Wasn't even gonna say something French, but
Yeah, something French.
Okay. Beef bourguignon.
Mine too. Okay, one app that you can't live without.
City Mapper.
And for those who don't know, City Mapper is like Google Maps type of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
But a
prepares.
good one.
Yeah.
That works well.
Right. Morning or night person?
Night.
Lovely. What's one word to describe your first day abroad?
Lost.
Oh, love it. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for your time, for joining me. So much value in this episode. So I'm super excited for those listening to just be inspired by your story, and let people know how they can reach you. How can they find you online?
Yeah, so my name is Lauren Kacher, so you can look me up on Google.
Oh, wow, okay.
Maybe I have to work on my SEO. LinkedIn is the easiest spot for now. I also go by Colo online. So I'll be launching something soon. It's called The Fashion Exchange. And so it's kind of like a movement on how to, like the things I mentioned about like if you're looking to launch a fashion label, if you want to figure out how to design, and also like that gold threads exercise. I also do this for branding. So if anyone's interested in fashion, I would say to contact me on LinkedIn or check out the upcoming resources I have.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you again. This was great, and thank you everyone for watching, for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.
The crowd goes wild.
So good. That was amazing.
Woohoo!
That was so good. How do you feel?
Good, yeah. Didn't even need to see those questions.
Right?
I don't need them.
That was fire. Damn, I love that. It's good?
Yeah.
Was it off?